The history of the United States of America is long, slow, and full of small, quiet movements of people and ideas that together shaped a vast land. And it begins not with flags or battles, but with the land itself, with forests that stretched for miles and rivers that cut through valleys and plains that seemed endless, and with the first people who walked across this land, who hunted, fished, gathered, and built shelters from what nature provided, living lives that were simple, repetitive, and steady, watching seasons come and go, planting and harvesting, moving from place to place with the rhythm of the land. And these first inhabitants developed ways of living that were adapted to the forests, the rivers, the lakes, and the plains, knowing which plants were edible, which animals could be hunted, how to track the changing weather, how to make fires, how to make tools from stone, wood, and bone. And over thousands of years, these ways of life slowly shifted as people migrated and traded with one another, passing knowledge, goods, and stories. And this long, quiet life was interrupted when the first Europeans arrived, bringing with them ships that cut through the ocean, sails that filled with wind, and ideas of kingdoms and trade and conquest. And they arrived not as conquerors immediately, but as explorers who mapped the coasts, made small settlements, traded with some of the native peoples, sometimes fighting, sometimes learning. And over decades, more and more people came from Europe, each bringing their own languages, religions, and ambitions. And among the earliest were the Spanish, the French, the Dutch, and the English, each claiming parts of the land, each building forts, missions, trading posts, and towns. And in the English colonies along the eastern seaboard, people began to establish permanent settlements, growing food, building homes, forming local governments, establishing churches, and trying to survive winters that were harsh and summers that brought storms. And these colonies were isolated from one another, connected by rough roads and rivers, slowly developing distinct economies, with some focused on tobacco, rice, or indigo, some on fishing, lumber, or trade, some on crafts and local markets. And life was hard and slow, with people working dawn to dusk, with little leisure, with children learning at home or in small schools, with families and neighbors helping one another, with laws and traditions slowly taking shape. And as the colonies grew, they became more aware of themselves as distinct communities, not just as extensions of faraway kings and parliaments. And they began to think about rights, self-governance, and the balance between obedience and freedom. And conflicts arose, first small and local over taxes, trade restrictions, and land disputes, then larger as the English government tried to assert more control, passing laws and taxes that many colonists saw as unfair, leading to protests, boycotts, petitions, and eventually violent clashes. And this tension built slowly, steadily, until it erupted into war. And the Revolutionary War began with people taking up arms to defend what they saw as their rights, fighting in towns, forests, and fields, enduring harsh winters, shortages of food, and long marches, while generals and leaders tried to organize armies, secure supplies, and gain allies. And over years, victories and defeats alternated, sometimes with large battles, sometimes with small skirmishes, until the colonists, with help from allies across the ocean, eventually won independence, creating a new nation out of 13 colonies that now became states. And they faced the enormous task of creating a government that could balance freedom with order, which led to debates, compromises, and eventually the writing of the Constitution, a document that laid out the structure of government, the separation of powers, the balance between state and federal authority, and the rights of citizens. And this new system began slowly, with the first presidents, senators, and representatives learning how to govern, how to manage disputes, how to negotiate with foreign powers, and how to deal with the endless daily problems of a growing nation. And the population began to move westward, exploring and settling new lands, building towns, trading with Native Americans, sometimes peacefully, sometimes violently, often displacing those who lived there first. And the nation grew in size and complexity, developing agriculture, commerce, and industry, slowly building roads, canals, and later railroads, connecting distant towns and cities, allowing goods, people, and ideas to move more easily, while technology slowly changed daily life with inventions like the telegraph, the steamboat, the cotton gin, and later the telephone and electricity. And as the nation grew, so did its divisions over slavery, states' rights, economic interests, and political power. And these tensions could not be contained indefinitely, leading to the Civil War, a conflict of immense scale, with armies marching for miles, battles fought in fields and towns, soldiers enduring cold, heat, hunger, and disease, civilians watching as their homes and towns were sometimes destroyed. And the war ended with the abolition of slavery, but left deep scars on the land and the people, scars that would take generations to heal. And after the war, the nation slowly rebuilt, with Reconstruction bringing new laws, new rights, new struggles, and ongoing conflicts over how to integrate freed slaves into society. While the economy gradually expanded, cities grew, immigrants arrived from Europe and later from other continents, bringing their cultures, labor, and aspirations. And life continued with slow, incremental changes, from factories and trains to telegraphs and newspapers, from suffrage movements to labor strikes, from reform movements to political battles, all happening at a pace that was sometimes rapid, sometimes glacial, but always part of the slow unfolding of history. And the United States slowly became a world power, involved in conflicts overseas like the Spanish-American War, World War I and World War II, sending soldiers and resources far from home, while the nation at home managed the home front, rationing, producing, innovating, grieving, celebrating, and adapting. And after World War II, the United States experienced unprecedented growth, with suburbs expanding, highways being built, businesses booming, culture spreading through radio, television, movies, and eventually computers. And society gradually changed as civil rights movements sought to end segregation, ensure voting rights, and create more equality, while the Cold War created decades of tension with another superpower, with espionage, diplomacy, arms races, space races, and the constant pressure of global politics shaping domestic decisions. And the economy cycled through periods of growth and recession, with booms in technology, finance, and industry, and challenges like inflation, unemployment, and social unrest. And life continued with gradual shifts in culture, fashion, music, art, and education, with each generation experiencing its own crises and triumphs, innovations and setbacks, slowly building a complex nation of millions of people of different races, religions, languages, and backgrounds, living in cities and farms, mountains and plains, deserts and forests, all contributing to the endless, slow, often unnoticed, sometimes mundane, always persistent movement that stretches from the earliest humans crossing the land to the present day. And in every town, every city, every farm, every school, every factory, every home, every road, every river, every mountain, the traces of this history remain, shaping the lives of people in ways both obvious and subtle, guiding their choices, influencing their culture, and quietly, steadily creating the United States of America as it exists now. A nation built not in a day, not in a year, but over centuries of slow, patient, often repetitive, sometimes painful, sometimes joyful human endeavor. And this is the history that continues every day, in every small, ordinary action, in the rhythm of life, in the quiet movements of people, in the cumulative work of generations, in the slow, boring, sometimes tedious, sometimes remarkable process that is history itself, the history of the United States of America.